Hello, welcome to the video. I'm actually super excited for this one because I want you to imagine for a moment that you could look at any amazing recipe on Instagram. Maybe not any, but like a lot of recipes. You could have cravings and then you could make the thing that you wanted to make and it was going to be perfect for weight loss. And I'm going to show you how to do that today because I'm craving this kind of like viral, delicious looking like sushi type thing that I saw. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, the reason that I've been able to lose 40 pounds and then keep them off, a big part of this, like 6 years now, is because I have been able to consistently make meals that I want to make, modify meals to make them amazing for weight loss. Like I know how to do that as a skill set. I'm going to show you how to do this in this video. So let's make something delicious. I saw this recipe on Instagram and I like absolutely like love the look of it, but it's not like super weight loss friendly. And I'm going to explain why. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I'm going to make, how I'm going to modify this recipe right here to make it like amazing for weight loss. But then I'm also going to share with you like the principles at the end of why this is amazing and how you can apply the same kind of formula that I'm going to use to other recipes as well, not just this one. Oh, this looks so good. I'm so excited. Do you remember that recipe that I made that last week where it was like rice and tofu and avocado and seaweed, and you didn't have the seaweed because you're weird? Do you remember that? And it was delicious and we sat outside.
It was delicious without the seaweed.
Okay, we're gonna do that. So the very first step is, can you put on rice for me?
Yes.
Great. Delegated rice on. And now let's do some tofu. So realistically, the first thing that we want to look for in a recipe is that it's easy to modify for weight loss. So we're going to look for something that has like a tofu sauce or some kind of like protein sauce, something that has a lot of veggies anyway, because then we can add more. And then we're going to be looking for something that also has like a starch component, like rice or potatoes, beans, quinoa, like sweet potato, something that has like that starchy base. And then this one here, it has tofu. I'm going to cook up extra. We're going to grate this up. And the very second thing that we're going to do is we're just going to never ever cook with oil. So she used oil. I'm not going to do that because that's going to save us already like 300, 400 calories in this meal simply by omitting it, and you do not need it. So look for something that's easy to modify. It's already got a starch. It's already got vegetables, got tofu or something to that nature. And then we're going to eliminate oil. Okay, so I do have this pan here and we are going to use a non-stick pan. If you have problems with this, then obviously don't do it, but that's what I do. You want to like flip it over and then get all these bits. You can see how it's getting brown. Yeah. Okay, so the other thing that you notice, she used a carrot in the recipe, but we are going to use so much more because this is a non-starchy vegetable. So we're just going to like up the ante when it comes to the vegetables. And what I always try and do is think about like a ratio of like half starch to half vegetables. So the starchy component of this meal is going to be the rice, and then it's going to be the tofu. So I want to have at least that much bulk coming from vegetables. So we're going to actually even do more carrots than this. These like are granddaddy carrots. Like they really need a peel. This is not looking great.
Hello, granddaddy carrots.
I would not normally be the one to grate a carrot. I'm not that girl, but these guys need it. As you can see, I have an absolute like load of carrots here, like a ton. So this is a good first step in terms of the veggie department. And I did ask Nick to also put some rice on, which is now done. Best way to deal with rice with a rice cooker, let it finish, then give it a stir to fluff it up, and then leave it for like another 5 minutes. All right, let's look and see what else she actually puts in here. There's the tofu. Oh, I could have done mine a whole lot thinner, but I didn't. That's okay. It's got soy sauce, so we're gonna put that right now. It's got the avocado. It's got the mayonnaise. Okay, so, and it's got chili oil. So if we wanna get the mayonnaise, it's for the creaminess, but the mayo has got a ton of oil. Like mayo is basically all oil. So what I always think instead, if I'm gonna make something that has mayonnaise, is I just make like a cashew dressing, and it's still gonna be high in calories. So we're not gonna use a ton of it, but it's gonna be much lower in calories because you're using water and cashews as opposed to oil. So just for context in terms of calories, cashews are about 2,800 calories per pound. Oil is about 4,000 calories. So when you add like a cashew to water ratio, you're gonna half what you would have in terms of calories of oil. It's gonna come out to about like 1,500 calories per pound, which is still very high. Even 2,000 calories is super high, but much less than mayonnaise, which is gonna be nearly the full 4,000 calories because it is just mostly oil, right? So that's how I think about it, and then I just have a small amount. So let's make a cashew dressing. That's enough talking. Do not need a recipe for this. I'm gonna do a bit more than what I will actually use because I'm gonna save them for like another dressing for another day. If you make a dressing, you're always gonna need some kind of like acidity. So I'm gonna put apple cider, but you could also use lemon. This is like dressings 101. And I want it to be kind of garlicky, so I'm gonna use some garlic salt. We're just gonna like just cover it like this, and then I might use like a little bit more. Okay, so this worked perfectly first time, and I made it like pretty watery. But that's okay, because really the only purpose of this is just to kind of bind that stuff together and give it a little bit of flavor and creaminess. So like this is the texture of it. I may as well just put it in this old tahini jar that I just found. Easy, done. All right, and then so she used soy sauce, so of course I'm gonna go in with the soy sauce, and then she used chili oil, but chili oil has oil in it, so I'm gonna use some like gochujang instead, which is gonna give it that hotness to it, the spiciness. I just like spat while I was talking. I was like super excited. This is yum, and so I'm gonna add this. You can see it's gone kind of crispy, which is like what we wanted. Like look at that, looks good. So I've made this and this is great, but I want to go through a few other recipes and just show you how I would modify them so you can kind of use some of these frameworks that we've talked about. So this person is not a vegan account as well, and you can use these frameworks whether someone is vegan, whether they're not, same kind of thing. So instantly we're just going to come and have a look. Obviously I'm going to like choose like as much as a vegan thing as I can. So garlic soy noodles. Okay, so this one right here, I can see that like it's got that starch component, it has a lot of oil. I'm gonna just omit the oil. I would add everything else in there, and then I would add the noodles. And then so for me, if I'm looking at a recipe like this, because it doesn't have the added vegetables, I'm gonna cook up like an entire head of broccoli. For a family, I would cook up like, that would be just for me, but I would cook up like 2 heads of broccoli. I would add like carrots to this. She added like some capsicum, I think, in there. I would add like 2 capsicums in there, and I'd have out the oil. So you can see that I've used that same kind of framework there. Let's have another look at this recipe. So this looks like some kind of like halloumi salad. Okay, looks great. What would I do to change it? Because it already looks pretty good. It's got halloumi. I would use tofu. It's got some oil. I would just not use the oil. I would like pan fry the tofu, and I would do the same with the asparagus, but I would add like 5 times the asparagus. I wouldn't make an oily dressing. I would just like add all of those ingredients that had the oil, like had the dressing there, and I just wouldn't use the oil. And I'd probably put like avocado in it to add a little bit of creaminess to it. All right, so here's some of the other recipes that you can see that I have like saved. Yeah, so here's like a recipe with a wrap. This is actually gonna be a little bit harder to modify, but what I liked about it was like the tofu, so I would do that and I would do it without oil. I would use the same kind of dressing that this person has made, make a marinade. Like I'm realistically never gonna cook this complicated just as it is. Okay, lots of veggies. You can see like I would add like 5 times the veggies that she's added. And then what I would do personally is like add that to a lettuce cup, because the starchy component, or I would add it like over rice, because the starchy component is already the tofu. And then in terms of like bread type wraps, personally for weight loss, like I'm not really gonna do that because it's just gonna add like a ton of calories without adding a ton of fullness. So what I could do with this one here, if I wanted to get the same kind of flavors, is I could also just have it over potatoes, which I would totally do. What else do I see here? Okay, so here we go. This is a big comforting bowl of Orzo pasta with vegan meatballs. Okay, yeah, so why did I save this? Obviously because it looks amazing. So I'm gonna add like 5 times the onion in this. I'm not gonna add any oil at all as this is cooking. Yeah, I would add all of this other stuff in here, and I would make the meatballs if I was going to do this. Again, like I don't really cook like this because it's just complicated, and like a recipe like this just feels like super complicated. Would I add breadcrumbs? Probably I would. I would cook it in the air fryer so it doesn't need oil in that. Making an orzo pasta, like I would totally do something like this. Cream cheese, vegan cream cheese. I just wouldn't do it. I might put like a little bit of like cashew cream like this to give it that little bit of creaminess, but I would definitely not add the cream cheese. Basil, he's gonna add that in there as well. And then so what I would do, and then the oil, I wouldn't do that. I just would put the basil on top. And then what I would do is I would serve something like this with a complementary type of vegetable. So it looks like super summery, kind of, because it's got the basil in there. Roasted tomatoes would probably be my go-to because I could add so many, and it's going to lower the calorie density, because it means that like half the bulk of my meal is going to be coming from non-starchy vegetables, which are much lower in calories. And you can see like I always add like roasted tomatoes to things like risottos, like I add them to pastas as well. And so that's like a super easy strategy that you can use. You can see the other kind of things that I've saved here, Like I've got some gochujang noodles that I saved. So I would make something like this, but I would just omit the oil. It's got the starches in it. Yeah, no oil, just wouldn't put that in there. I just would leave it out. It's got some peanut butter. I would probably put PB2 powder to lower the calories in that, because peanut butter is going to be super calorie dense. Or I might put like a tiny bit of peanut butter. And then I would just serve this with like tons of broccoli. So I hope that that's kind of helpful for you to see that really there's only those 3 or 4 things that you need to do. First of all, choose something that is going to be easy to modify, something that has like a starchy whole foods base, like potatoes, like rice, like some kind of grain, quinoa, sweet potato, beans, lentils. Use that tofu, use that as kind of like the litmus test for what's going to be easy for you to modify. Add half vegetables, non-negotiable, non-starchy vegetables. So these are not potatoes, not corn, not peas. Carrot is a non-starchy vegetable, or it has the calories at least of that. Cucumber, tomatoes, asparagus, broccoli. You can look up non-starchy vegetables. Have half of your bulk of your meal coming from that. And if you're going to make something that doesn't have it, add it as a side. You can always add a side of broccoli. And then you're just gonna not cook with oil, and you're not gonna cook with oil type components. So you're not gonna cook with mayonnaise. You can make a cashewy dressing, just use a little bit. If you are gonna use fats as well, you're gonna use just a small amount of them. You don't want that to be like the overwhelming thing in your meals. Look at aiming for about like 1/4 of an avocado to 1/2 an avocado, or its equivalent, with like a little bit of fats in there. This meal has a little bit more because it is a little bit more decadent. But this is how I make sure that it's still going to be in that zone for weight loss. Is something that I can eat, like maybe not as like an everyday meal, but because I eat super simply for my other meals, I do eat a lot of foods like this, and I don't eat as much as I used to. Here's the thing, when it comes to weight loss, where most people muck up is that they think that they have to be perfect every single meal. They think they have to optimize every single meal. You don't. You have to have most of your meals pretty good and in that lower calorie range, because you're adding a ton of vegetables and you're not cooking with oil. But then you can also have some comfort meals like this, but you must modify them. You can't go from like super healthy to super unhealthy all the time. This is where I see people muck up. They go, when I'm in the zone, I'm like oil free, I'm salt free, I'm sugar free, I like hate my life, and I'm on the potato reset kind of vibes. Or they're like binging. Just eliminate the binging, do something as good as you can, and then you're going to feel good and you're going to make consistent progress. You're not needing to be perfect. You want to be like 80, 90%. And then you just want to do that much more consistently. It's the binging, it's the pendulum swinging that is holding most people back. All right, so we're also going to cut up like a ton of cucumber for this. And then we've got some avocado. Let's give it a taste test. I want to like use up this. Let me know in the comments, do you ever do this? Like I put stuff, because I hate to clean this thing out, so I just do this. I do this with pasta too. And you can see how much like cleaner this is, so I like don't waste as much. And so what I'm not gonna do that she did is like assemble this all together. I am gonna put these in though, because I wanna manage the fat content and the veggie content, and it's gonna be different to that of my kids and my husband. So I'm gonna assemble mine to have more veggies, and I'm going to put that all together, which is a bit harder to do if I just mix everything. So we're about to plate up. We have this rice, cashew cream, and then I'm also going to use this, cut that up, and then all of our veg and this. Okay, I'm going to use a massive bowl because I just want to have so many veg. I'm going to do like a serving of rice. I actually don't even want that much. Like it's not like that much. I'm going to do more tofu for me. Personally, I'm like all about the tofu right now. So I'm gonna do like about that much. And this is where things get interesting, is I'm gonna flippin' load this bad boy with veggies. Like the ratios are gonna be crazy. Tons, I actually don't want quite that much carrot. This is a lot of carrot. Tons of cucumber. I'm gonna use about like 1/4 of an avocado. And then a little bit more of that. And then like mix it all up. It's gonna look a little bit different to hers. Let's do this. I cannot wait to eat this. I'm so hungry right now. I'm like too impatient. I want to try it now. When I was in South Korea, I lived there for a bit, like 9 months, and like we would get bibimbap at restaurants, which is like rice and veggies. The people who would run the restaurants were so pedantic, like it was so important that you mix things in the right way. They would come and like take your spoon and make sure that you mixed it properly. So I'm mixing this properly. A little bit more soy. And then we're gonna put some of the sesame on top. And then I'm gonna use this toasted seaweed. This has oil. This is the thing, but it's like such a small amount. One sheet of these is 20 calories. Very much well worth it for me. And you can buy these in the small packs as well. It's the same thing. This just allows you to have a bit more. And you don't even need scissors. You literally just, wee-hee. There we go. Take this. The final countdown. It's not the prettiest looking thing. Tastes amazing. It's definitely a variation of sushi bowl. Chopsticks. This. Get your little bit of seaweed. Put it over the top. And you're just gonna little scoopy scoop. I don't know if it's because I'm so hungry, but it tastes so good. So good. Alright, so that's how I make weight loss bowls. That is how I have continued to lose 40 pounds, like keep them off. Why it's so easy for me to keep them off and has been over the past like 6 years is that I just modify things and I know how to do that. So let me know in the comments how you would modify one of your favorite recipes, whether your favorite recipes are modifiable. And I'm gonna go enjoy this and then make up some meals for my family as well. Kids are screaming in the background. If you wanna know my exact 4-step framework that I use for weight loss meals, which this falls into this category, how I modify it, then I have a free Kickstarter course for you. Then I'm going to link that in the description as well, so go and check that out. There's been over 25,000 people go through that Kickstarter so far, and it really works. Right, I'll see you next week for another video.